All right, it is 6:30, Tuesday, April 20th, 2021. This is a special closed session meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call. So when I say your name, just say here in attendance. So I'll start with Eleanor Evans,
Here in attendance.
Mike Blessing,
Here.
Eric Joyce,
Here.
Raquel Alvarez.
Here.
Super. All board members are in attendance, and we're going to start tonight out with public comment for closed session items. Tonight, the board will receive comments regarding items on the closed session agenda. The total time for public input will be 3 minutes. We ask you to limit your comments to those 3 minutes. It's come to my attention we have 2 public comments, so I'll turn it over to Anne or Julie to facilitate.
Our first public comment will be from Todd Madison.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Good evening, Todd. You're up.
Yeah. Hi. Thanks. Hold it. Am I still muted? Let's see here.
We can hear you.
Okay,
no, we
great.
can hear you.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. So anyway, I have spoken here upwards of 50 times in the last decade. This is kind of unusual. I don't think I've ever spoken before a closed meeting before. I see labor negotiations are on the agenda. Of course, we don't know what is involved in that. I hope it has to do something to do with getting our schools to reopen. But I know parents are not represented in those negotiations. A few years ago, I made a comment about that. The people who have the greatest interest in our school are our parents. They care most about the kids, also provide the dollars that fund it, but they're not allowed in those negotiations. Nothing like that would ever happen in a normal business, of course. If you banned the person who writes the checks from the negotiating table, they just stop paying you. But of course, here it's normal operation, as if that makes any sense. I was told back then by my board trustee that he was my representative. Since then, all we've seen are rubber stamp 5-0 votes on anything the union wants. Impact of funding available for our kids is secondary because we know in OUSD the district comes first, not the kids. We also know who funds election campaigns. As I pointed out last week, the only board member running opposed last November had over $6,000 spent on his behalf by the Oceanside Teachers Association. Every single dollar spent during that election was spent by the union. But there's no influence there. The fact that every vote is in the union's favor is total coincidence. Pay no attention to the droids. The union just happens to be right all the time. Last week, we heard the board wanted to consult with the health department and labor groups before we could move to a full reopening. Despite having had a year to do that, getting $60 million in funding to do that, and having had a court rule that they had to do that. In that discussion, our superintendent expressed the opinion that the county's answer could come within a day. There was talk of calling a special meeting to discuss that afterwards. And yet here we are a week later. The only special meeting we're having is to discuss what our unions want, to return to the jobs they were originally hired to do, teaching our kids in person. We don't know what we're going to see as a result of this negotiation. But if it's like what we've seen in other districts, I'm sure taking care of our kids and making up for the damage that has been done to them this year is likely to take second priority to getting more money for adults, because that's the way it always is. Parents had this silly idea that the millions in COVID relief were going to be spent on getting our kids back in school, not giving bonuses to adults making comfortable 6-figure incomes to do the job they were contracted to do. We'll see what OUSD does. I have my hopes. I hope that doesn't happen, but we've seen this movie before. We know how it usually ends, and it's not with things that benefit our kids being put first. When it comes to money, the district always comes first. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have another speaker?
I don't think this person is in the room, Stacy, but her name is Margarita Luna.
Let's give it a minute and see if she shows up.
If she is in the room, will we want her to raise her hand?
Yes, Mr. Joyce, that would be helpful, but I'm not seeing this person.
Yeah, there's 91 people, and I'm not seeing her on that list as well when I did a search.
I don't think they're
Right.
here, Stacy.
All right, well, we do not have any more speakers. And that's it? Two?
So Dr. Begin, I will leave this public meeting open for anybody that wants to stay in or join later. I'm not sure the time of the return of the board from closed, but when that does happen, this meeting will be available and people can listen in.
All right, super. Well, I'm just going to explain to the 92 people that are joining us tonight. Thank you. We're going to go into closed session. Item 2A, conference with labor negotiators. And then we will come out of closed session and I will come back with a report for you. So I can't, like, just like Mr. Moon said, we're not sure how long this will take. So anyways, just take a little break. So we're going to go to closed session. Is that all I need to tell them, Julie? You good?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. My board members, we're going to go into closed session.
So just letting everyone know, we are returning back to the live meeting. So just everyone mute your microphones, please.
I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for being patient with us. No action was taken by the board in closed session. However, the school board gave clear direction to staff to continue negotiations with the Oceanside Teachers Association on a modified 5-day hybrid elementary schedule. And that's all I have to report out on closed session. Thanks for joining us tonight, and thanks for your patience while we had a robust conversation. Good night.
Good night.